Maxtivity artists. It's time to stop, drop what you're doing, and do some art. My name's Julie, and today we're going to be doing an art project that has to do with fall. I really like crows. I think crows are really interesting birds, and there's lots of stories about crows too. I think Edgar Allan Poe told a kind of a spooky Halloween-y story that had a crow in it. And I thought it'd be fun to do one today. So we're gonna be drawing our crow first. So you're gonna need a pencil and an eraser, and then we're gonna paint our crow. So you're gonna want paper that you can paint. So maybe something a little thicker than printer paper. Maybe sometimes mixed media paper, sometimes sketching paper is thick enough. I'm gonna use watercolor paper, which is the thickest. Or cardstock could work too, if you have cardstock to paint on. So we're gonna need some paints and some brushes. You're gonna want blue and red and yellow. Those are the primary colors. And you're gonna want some white. So I'll see you back here with supplies. So we're gonna start by drawing the beak. I have located the center of my page with a dot, so you could kind of see where I'm starting my crow in relation to the center of the page. So you kind of know where to put yours. So I started by, you know what might be the easiest thing? It might be easiest to do this shape first. Do a slightly diagonal line going here and one going like this, like a triangle. Make a pointy triangle, but don't connect the bottom of the triangle. Instead, continue the triangle here. This is a zigzag line, isn't it? It's kind of a Z. And then I just put kind of a curved line on top of my Z, going all the way back to the corner. That's going to be my cartoony crow beak. Now I'm going to give him an eye. And I'm going to make his eye pretty low and close to his beak. I'm just going to make it a circle for now. We'll add more to the eye later. Right now we're just going to make a circle. And now I'm going to give him his feathers. Now his feathers, he's kind of a crow who's been in a few crow fights maybe, or he's been blown around by the wind, and his feathers are kind of crazy. Here's his wing. I'm just making lines to show where his feathers are right now. We're going to paint them later. His wing is kind of sticking up, and his tail feathers are just some lines, some going up and some going down. So can you do that? I did 4 kind of crazy feather lines coming out of his head. They curve in different directions. These 2 curve this way. This one goes almost straight up, and then this one curves back. And then his wing is a curved line with some other lines to show where his wing is. And then his tail is just 4 lines that go shoo, 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 out from his body. Okay, his feet, his legs are gonna be real easy. Watch this. We're just gonna do 2 little V's. Here's a V, and here's a V, right next to each other. Those are his, the tops of his legs. And then here's his little skinny bird legs coming out. They look like Ys, don't they? Basically just 2 Ys. And then I'll give him some toes. 1, 2, and 1 back. 2 forward and 1 back. That was easy, wasn't it? All right, maybe a little line right there just to show the back end of the crow. All right, let's get back to that eye. Inside that circle, I'm going to do another circle right here. And I'm going to give him an eyebrow. Now, watch this. Our crow kind of looks happy right now, but I'm going to change that by giving him an eyebrow that's slanted down. Isn't that amazing how one little line can change the whole feel of the picture? The reason I'm giving him this angry eyebrow is because he is guarding something that he doesn't want any of the other crows to get. He's guarding a big, juicy piece of corn, and he's standing right on top of it so nobody else can get it. So let's draw our big juicy piece of corn. basically shaped like a long, kind of a long rectangle or kind of a long tube. That's our basic corn shape. We're gonna add corn kernels later. And then I think we'll have a little corn cob sticking out of the end and maybe some corn leaves. So put a corn leaf like this. It's kind of a teardrop shape or a long skinny raindrop shape. Let's put that there. All right, and then we'll just make a horizontal line. Horizontal means it's going across the page this way. That's the ground behind him. All right, that's what we're going to start with for our drawing, and then we're going to paint it. So moving on to the paint. All right, so you'll notice I have red, yellow, blue, and white paint on my foil paint palette. And I want to start, I think we'll start with the crow. I'm going to take a thin brush because I'm going to be painting these feathers that stick out all over the place, and I want them to be thin. If I used a big thick brush for that, a wide brush, my feathers would be huge. I don't want that. No, I want thin. So I'm going to take my thin brush and I'm going to get it a little bit wet. You should have a cup of water nearby and a paper towel. Get my brush a little wet, dip it in my paint. I'm just going to go like this. Strokes. I'm stroking with my brush, kind of using the tip of my brush. I'm not putting it like this. I'm just kind of using the tip of my brush and I'm kind of going over my pencil lines. I want them to look feathery, kind of crazy. I think it'd be better to have a few feathers like that down there rather than that one straight across. Okay, so we've done kind of the outline. Oh, maybe better do these little legs too. Now we'll do the inside. So I'm just going to continue to do little feathery strokes in the direction that the feathers might be growing. I'm not going to paint all this part in. I'm just going to the very edge of the tail. So little strokes in the direction that the feathers of the crow might be growing. I might do some little ones here too. Maybe a little bit on his beak. Okay. So, once we've painted him in that much, you might decide that you want to add a little more up here, and I think I do. I'm going to add a few thicker feathers up here on his head. So I feel like they were too thin. I like that better. Okay, great. I'm gonna wash my brush and I'm going to get a tiny bit of blue and I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of white. I just need a little because I want to make some light blue for his beak. I know crows are black, but we want this to be a colorful crow, so we're using blue instead. I need to add a little more water. Sometimes my paint gets too dry and it doesn't spread very well. And that's when I just need to get a little more water on my brush, and then it spreads around really nicely, like kind of like watercolor. All right, that's all we're gonna do right now on the crow. So now we're going to work on our corn, and I'm going to use a little bigger brush. Could be medium size, could be big. I think I'll use a big one. I'm going to get a little water on it. And I'm going to get the yellow. And I'm going to paint my corn yellow. Corn on the cob. Who likes corn on the cob? I do. All right, now I'm going to do more with the corn in a few minutes. Right now I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna rinse my brush off a little bit, and now I'm gonna do the background. And I thought it would be nice to have it be kind of a sunset, so it looks like maybe it's the evening, Crow's having his dinner. So I'm gonna dab a little bit of red and yellow together and make an orange. If you mix on your foil, take a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow on your brush, and then mix them together, you'll get a nice orange. Look at that. Ooh, that's a nice sunset color. I like that. My paper is kind of bowed. It's kind of warped and bent. I need some more. So I gotta mix a little more yellow and a little more red together. And I'm not gonna paint my crow. I don't wanna smear the blue. I'm just going, see how I'm leaving a little bit of space around my crow? Because I don't wanna mix the blue and the yellow and the orange, I mean. So I'm just going like that. You get a little more water, a little more paint. Gonna be careful. I don't want it to be too yellow because I don't want the corn and the sky to look like the same thing. So getting a little closer to my crow, but still not touching. Oh, uh-oh, I got too close. Look at that. I smeared the blue. Don't want to do that. Maybe you want to use a smaller brush when you get close to your crow. This is just a fun crow and fun colors. Orange and blue are complementary colors. I'm gonna add a little more red here. That means they are opposite each other on the color wheel, and that means they complement each other. When you put them together in a picture, they look really nice together. Alrighty. Now the ground is going to be, I think we'll make it green. So how do we get green paint? Well, we mix yellow and blue. There we are. You can make every color from the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And we're gonna mix yellow and blue to make some green. Let's see. Oh, that's not, I don't think so. I think we need to add a little more of each color here. A little more blue, maybe? Maybe there was too much yellow in that. That's better. Just mix it till it's the green that you like. Sometimes your green needs a little more yellow, sometimes it needs a little more blue. Just depends on what you're trying to achieve. So this is a fun color mixing kind of experiment we're doing here. Now, if I paint the corn leaf and stalk the same color as my grass, we're not really gonna see it very well, are we? So I think I wanna make it a lighter color green. So I'm gonna add more yellow to my green, and that will make it a little different color so that it doesn't blend in with my grass. This brush is a little big for that. I think I need a smaller brush. I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush. So I'm gonna get a little water on it, get some paint on it, paint my corn stalk, little handle on the corn on the cob there. And okay, now if I want to get really fancy, I could put a shadow under my corn. I could do that by taking some blue and making a thin line of blue paint kind of on top of my grass. Gotta get in that little space there, that's kind of tricky. maybe under the stalk, under the leaf, just a little bit, just a little. Maybe this way. Okay. And let's make our corn look a little more rounded. I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to get a little orange. And I'm going to put a little orange along the bottom of my corn to make it look kind of like it has a shadow. Just a little orange along the bottom of the corn. Alrighty. Now let's take our white, a little bit of white, and let's make some spots on our corn to make it look more like it has kernels. Just put a few shiny spots here and there, not the whole thing. Just a few to show that it's corn. We have basically painted almost the whole thing. So the next thing we're gonna do is kind of tricky. We're going to attempt to make the color black. So in order to make black with the primary colors, we're gonna have to, let's make green first. So let's take some blue and some yellow and mix it together until we have a nice green. That looks pretty green. Then we take red. Red and green are also complementary colors, and when you mix them together, you can achieve black. Sometimes it's a little tricky. Sometimes it becomes more of a gray or a brown. See how it's getting darker? If I add too much red, it's gonna start turning more red. I think that's about as good as we're gonna get with these paints that I'm working with today. I'm gonna take a very thin brush now and get it a little wet and get a little bit of paint on it. And then I'm going to paint in the pupil of my crow, and I'm gonna paint his angry eyebrow. Nice. I'm using a smaller, thinner brush so that I can make skinnier lines. I'm gonna do his legs and his toes. 2 forward and 1 toe back. And now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to carefully, with the tip of my brush, I'm not smashing it down, I'm using the tip of my brush, and I am kind of outlining my crow. I don't want to cover things up, just kind of want to go around them to give them a little more definition. Some more of those crazy feathery lines. Maybe put some here. Maybe just a few like that on his tail. And these here. I'm going to outline his little Y-shaped legs. And lastly, very carefully, I'm going to go around his eye. There we go. Now let's do the same thing to the corn. With my tip of my brush, I don't want to smash down. Make a thin line around the corn. And trace the leaf. You can even put some lines in it if you want. Thin lines. And the stalk. Every time I get more paint, you can hear my foil rattling, can't you? And then we'll put a thicker line down here on the bottom. Thin line on top, because that's where the light is shining, and a thicker line on the bottom to show shadow. There, that looks better. And let's put a few kernels of corn. Let's kind of just do a few kernel shapes. Maybe do a few little circles or kind of square shapes, square-ish shapes on your corn, maybe around some of the white dots that you made. Don't have to do all of them, but just a few so it looks more like corn. Terrific. Oh, you know what? Maybe let's define our horizon line. Let's go ahead and put some of our blackish paint there too. Maybe a few strokes here. I like it. Okay, we've got a fun little picture of a crow guarding his corn, and we learned about mixing colors. I hope you had a good time mixing colors, and I hope your crow turned out cute, and he's kind of a feisty crow, isn't he? He's got spunk, spunky crow. So I got my thin brush wet, and then I'm going to put it in my dark paint and go like this, and it kind of becomes kind of real thin like ink. And then I can sign my name with just the tip. So if your paint is too thick, add a little water and do that, and then it's a little easier to outline things when the paint is thin. If it's too thick, you're going to get big globs and it's harder to outline. We don't want that. We want it to be thin so that you can do thin lines. There we go. Okay. Thanks for joining us today. Every time we make art, we learn a little bit more about how to be a good artist. So good job. Have a great day.